This 2019 study on SFAS found that candidates in the top 25% of Ruck performance had a 67% selection rate, while those in the slowest 25% faced an abysmal 6% chance of being selected. And the data is no fluke. Rucking was determined to be the greatest predictor of selection success, more than running, pull-ups, or even PT scores. And that's proven in every study on the Army's SFAS over the past 3 decades. So now that you know why rucking matters, it raises the question, how do you train to crush your ruck and guarantee that you're in that top 25% or even top 3 in the class, like some of my selected athletes? In this video, I'll break down the biggest mistakes the candidates make, my philosophy for training using research and practical application, and then I'll go through a step-by-step guide to maximize your chances of success. The greatest mistake that I see is faulty programming, which comes from misunderstanding what actually drives ruck performance. And here's a hint, it's not more rucking. The top predictors of ruck performance were revealed in this NATO technical report, which analyzed 8 different military studies. In order, the top predictors were fat mass, muscle mass, height, strength, and VO2 max. So you heard me right. Having low levels of fat mass and high levels of muscle mass were stronger predictors of ruck times than strength and VO2 max. You see, rucking is more unique than most people give it credit for. Unlike with running, where the skinny and aerobically fit thrive, or in strength training, where the big mass monsters excel, rucking requires proficiency in both, alongside a good body composition. And here's an example to illustrate the point. Imagine you run a 15-minute 5K, but you're weak and rail thin. Good luck not collapsing 6 miles into your 65-pound ruck. Or imagine you squat 500 pounds, but you can't run 12 miles at a comfortable clip because you're overweight. You sure as heck will not make a good time adding 65 pounds to your back. This is proof that you need a methodical approach to becoming aerobically fit, strong, muscular, and also lean. Those are the prerequisites to proficiency in rucking. More on how to plan your training and rucks will come later. But first, let's talk ruck running. This is mistake number 2, and you need to stop doing it. If it were effective, trust me, I would be recommending it. My job is to get guys out the door over-prepared and ready for selection. But if they're injured or half broken, it doesn't matter how fit they are or you are, because your chances of getting selected are slim to none. Ruck running will double the force impact on your feet, ankles, shins, and knees compared to my recommended method of rucking. And here's the math if you don't believe me. For a 180-pound runner with a 65-pound rucksack, you're absorbing about 2.5 times your body weight plus the ruck per step, which totals 612 pounds of force per step. Now, if you do a strategic speed walk, your impact is reduced to 1.2 times your body weight plus the ruck, or 294 pounds, less than half the ruck running force, and it's even less impactful than regular running, which totals 450 pounds per step. Now, don't get me wrong, ruck run when you need to at selection, but training is to improve and build your body up. In the same way that smart fighters are not taking big shots to the head in fight camp, you should also not take unnecessary damage in your training. Instead, when you're running, I want you to hinge at your hips to give yourself some forward lean as you would in running to deliver force through the ground. Try to have both feet on the ground when you land your striking foot. As one foot lands, the other should just be starting to rise. Lift your knees high and focus on fast foot turnover and short strides. Your foot should be bent, not locked, when your foot comes in contact with the ground. And then the last step is to swing your arms to propel yourself forward and speed up your foot turnover. When you first use this technique, really exaggerate the motion like you're walking in place and in slow motion. Then gradually pick up your speed and start moving forward. Using this technique, most candidates can get to a 13 or 14 minute mile ruck pace. But how do you actually orient your training to guarantee you're that top 25% rucker? My philosophy is a 2-step process. It starts with getting fast and strong. Target a 1.5 times body weight front or zercher squat for 8 reps, a 335-pound trap bar deadlift, and at least 15 pull-ups. And on your run, you want to be able to hit sub 10-minute miles comfortably for 12 miles to be competitive on your long rucks. A general template to organize these sessions might have 2 to 3 strength workouts per week, 2 to 3 runs per week, and 1 long slow ruck weekly. Remember, that 1 weekly ruck is not an intense session. You should be doing it at a low intensity pace where you can nasal breathe or maintain a conversation. Remember, it's the strength and run work that you're doing that are going to be the main drivers of your rucking improvement. And here's a pro tip. On your long rucks, be cognizant of your limiting factors. If you rucked 8 miles last week and your cardio was fine, but your upper back and traps were screaming from soreness in that final stretch, the solution is to target that weakness directly. In this case, with supplemental upper back work, like shrug, tugs or heavy rows. Remember, you're not going to out-ruck your way through those weaknesses. It's just not feasible or efficient to hit 8-mile sessions several times per week just to strengthen your upper back. And the same is true for cardio. You can always do more running or add non-impact work. But let's say you've been doing heavy strength training, running, and you're still not seeing results. It's time to take a look at your body composition because there is nothing that will literally weigh you down and hold you back like excess fat mass. To put it in perspective, if you're 180 pounds at 22% body fat, you're carrying an additional 16 pounds of fat on every ruck compared to if you were at 15% body fat. Just how much faster would you be without the additional 16 pounds of dead weight on your frame? And the data on selection success and body composition is very clear. The leaner you are, the more likely you are to be selected. Those around 14% body fat had a 51% selection rate, and selection rates dropped precipitously above 17% body fat. Now, there's no one body composition that works for everyone, but I do recommend finding the body fat percentage where you perform best and can comfortably fuel your body. That might mean eating more whole foods, cutting the junk, and cooking more food at home. For most men, I recommend 16% or less. Now, after you've achieved a good body composition and are aerobically fit and strong, it's time to begin phase 2, which for my athletes is typically the final 10 to 12 weeks leading up to shipping or selection. And it's during this time that we begin rucking 1 to 3 times per week. If you're great at rucking, alternating between once and twice per week works, or if your rucking needs work, I recommend alternating between 2 and 3 times per week. A typical week with 2 rucks will have one which is long in duration and moderate in weight, typically between 55 to 65 pounds, and the other will be a short duration heavy ruck, increasing in weight from 75 pounds up to 100 pounds. If you decide to add a third day of rucking, which I rarely do, I recommend limiting it to 45 to 60 minutes with lighter weight, under 55 pounds. Keep in mind, all of these sessions will be done with the efficient speed walk technique I outlined earlier. And here's what a sample week of training might look like. Now you might be wondering, what's the deal with these heavy rucking intervals? The heavy ruck sessions are backed up both by research and also feedback from my athletes who've been selected. And here's just a few quotes from some of the athletes I've worked with after they came back from selection. One said he was walking normal, like one day after the track, and a lot of other guys were still limping 3 days after. Another said physically he didn't feel as bad as his teammates, and he was comfortable with his grip strength, and that the heavy ruck, short distance workouts definitely made him more comfortable during Team Week's high carry events. Another specifically called out the 1 to 2 times weekly rucking we did as especially helpful because he felt strong and could contribute to the team's success while other guys felt wasted away. And here's the data I used to guide this training alongside, of course, real-world feedback. A study on officers at the Royal Military Academy tested whether intensity or duration was the key factor in improving ruck performance, alongside separating them into groups which trained weekly or every other week. And what they found was the group doing heavy intervals saw great improvements, 13.5% compared to 6.5%. And by the end of the study, the heavy interval group actually spent 1/3 of the time training compared to the long duration group. Additionally, the group rucking once per week was more effective than rucking every other week, seeing 12.6% improvement compared to 7.4%. What's interesting is that this study was intense, and the ruck weights and durations increased significantly for the moderate load group. Ruck weight went from 20 to 30% of body weight, and the duration from 90 minutes to 3 hours. The short distance groups increased their ruck weight from 45% of their body weight to 67.5%, and their intervals went from 3 rounds of 15 minutes to 4 rounds of 15 minutes. To illustrate the intensity of these workouts, here's what their sessions would have looked like if you weighed 180 pounds. The moderate load group would have been doing 36 to 57 pounds for 90 minutes to 3 hours, and the heavy load short distance group would have been rucking 3 to 4 rounds of 15 minutes with between 81 and 120 pounds. So you can see that the training advice I've shared is in part based on studies like this. Now here's a common question that I get. How fast do you need to be a top 25% rucker? And this will vary based on the class, but you'll likely need to be hitting sub 13-minute miles for 12 miles. But what I've found is that if you can hit your long duration, moderate weight rucks at 15-minute miles at zone 2 or conversational pace, you'll be able to pick up the intensity and hit sub 13-minute miles comfortably when you need to. So rather than trying to hit 13-minute miles every day in training, work on your aerobic conditioning. You'll probably start rucking 18-minute miles at a low heart rate and work your way down to sub 15 over time. Leave your training questions in the comments, and if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, you can apply at the link in the description or check out the video on the screen to learn how to develop an iron grip.